I'm very happy to be here this morning to stand in for Minister Flanagan, who obviously can't be here due to other business. As a lot of you know, today's event comes at a time when there's been a lot of activity and discussions in relation to the whole area of online safety, following on from a particularly disturbing case dealt with in the criminal courts last month. That, of course, is not to say that there has not been a lot of activity in the area in recent years. Much has happened, and you've been given a good sense of the breadth of cross-cutting activity that is taking place at government department level from the whole of government video played earlier in the morning. And Minister Naughton's introduction and the Taoiseach's open address also give a flavour. And you've also been given a perspective from the European Commission. There have been developments at Commission level as recently as last week with the publication of the Commission's recommendation incorporating operational measures to effectively tackle illegal content online. The recommendation, which is directed at companies and member states, applies to all forms of illegal content online, ranging from terrorist content, child sex abuse material, incitement to hatred and violence, counterfeit products and copyright infringement. It is part of an ongoing and concerted drive to ensure that illegal content online is detected swiftly and removed. You have also heard from our first panel, who have been sharing their thoughts on the critically important themes of education and awareness and the respective roles that government and other stakeholders must play to ensure that everybody, particularly children and young people, are safe when they go online. So you have had some cross-sectoral perspectives from representatives of the industry, including in the area of notice and takedown arrangements, child rights and protection advocates, law enforcement, parents and persons concerned with the professional development of teachers in relation to safety on the internet. So there's a lot to reflect on and food for thought in relation to the further actions necessary to be taken to ensure that everybody who uses the internet and other forms of communications technologies are protected from harm while doing so. Having in regard to Minister Flanagan's responsibility for the criminal and legal aspects of internet safety, I know he is particularly interested to hear about any proposals you might have on the need to further strengthen our laws to ensure that children in particular are protected while on the internet. While we have strong laws in place to protect children, there is more that we can do. You have heard about how the government introduced new legislation only last year, the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Act 2017, which enabled a number of new offences to be added to the statute book to combat the exploitation of children, and in particular to address the use of modern communication technologies as a tool which may lead to child exploitation. You will also be aware that Minister Flanagan is progressing recommendations for legislative change made by the Law Reform Commission in their 2016 report on harmful communications and digital safety. The Commission has proposed extending some existing offences and creating some new criminal offences, such as extending the existing offence of sending threatening or indecent messages to all online communications, extending the offence of harassment to include all forms of communication, including online or digital communications, creating new offences of stalking and the non-consensual distribution of intimate images with intent to cause harm or distress, generally referred to as revenge pornography, and creating a new offence to address the taking and distribution of intimate images without consent, whether or not there is intent to cause harm or distress. These are, of course, critically important measures to have in place to deal with individuals who use the internet and communications technologies either with the intent to cause harm or who have no regard for the harm their activities might cause. However, this is only part of the landscape, and we have just been listening to a discussion about the importance of preventative measures targeted at ensuring that children and young people, their parents and their educators are sufficiently well informed and aware of the opportunities that modern communication technologies have to offer and how they can be availed of safely. In this context, and in common with a number of other departments, my department has a role in promoting internet safety. The Office of Internet Safety, with its partner bodies WebWise, Childline and the National Parents Council Primary and Hotline.ie, provides internet safety awareness raising, helpline and takedown services. As you heard at the outset, the overall aim of today's event is to raise awareness of the activities that are being undertaken by the Irish Government, by the European Commission, by industry and non-governmental organisations. Given the ever-evolving nature of new technologies, addressing online safety will be an area of concern for all of these sectoral interests, for parents and for children and young people themselves. Accordingly, the Government wants to hear your views and to use the output from this open policy debate to assist with the development of a plan incorporating an integrated set of measures to continue to tackle the issues arising in relation to online safety and to strengthen our capacity to communicate with and to disseminate information to the general public so that children and young people can be supported to stay safe online. I would therefore encourage you to engage in the roundtable discussions that we will move on to next and provide your thoughts on the future steps or the further steps necessary to achieve that aim. And it would be remiss of me as a Minister for State responsible for equality matters not to join in the thoughts of the Taoiseach this morning in marking International Women's Day. And looking around us here at all these august personages looking down at us, I think there's just one woman there. We've come a long way, and she was a queen. We've come a long way, and we've a long way to go yet in that area too. And I wonder what would they make of what we're talking about, the internet and the World Wide Web. We certainly have come a long way. I wish you well in your deliberations, and thank you.